occupied and exploited by the industrial powers. So some things repeat themselves. Every invention, every discovery usually creates new inequality. As a historian, I can raise a warning that it's very unlikely that the new powers of artificial intelligence will be shared equally between all the countries in the world. It's much more likely that some countries will lead this new revolution. They will be able to dominate and conquer and exploit all the others in an even more extreme way. So some things repeat themselves, but other things are really different. I would say that maybe the most important difference is that in the past, almost all the inventions and discoveries, they gave people control of the world outside. We learned how to control the other animals, the forests, the rivers, but we never gained much power over the world inside us. And this is the big change that will happen in the 21st century. Powers we are gaining is power over the internal world, to re-engineer and manufacture bodies and brains and minds. I think Earth will be dominated by entities which are more different from us than we are different from Neanderthals or from chimpanzees.
Do you feel that you maybe sometimes you underestimated the human spirit? I mean, from late 19th century, maybe from Freud, they tried to explore your psychology. And also Virginia Woolf said the human spirit changed totally. But really change?
You are right. We know very little about the mind and about the spirit or the psychology of humans. It won't prevent us from gaining immense manipulative powers over ourselves. And this is one of the dangers. We had control, we had power to manipulate the world outside. We didn't understand the ecological system. And the same thing may happen with the world inside. We are far from understanding the human spirit or the human mind. And the result may be that we will face a mental collapse, similar to the ecological collapse we are seeing now. I think we are facing the danger of the distractions.
Maybe human spirit is much more adaptive than we think and we imagine.
It is very adaptive. That's certainly true. And we see it here that we still have the Stone Age bodies and Stone Age brains, and here we are flying in airplanes and then living in big cities and so forth. So we have an amazing ability to adapt. But what we see is a process of domestication of humans. We adapt the abilities that the economic system needs from us, the political system needs from us, but we neglect many other potential abilities that are deteriorating. This is what happened to the other domesticated animals. We created cows that produce enormous amounts of milk, but otherwise they are far less capable than wild cattle. Now, what the economic system needs from us is to constantly connect to the communication system. And all the new technologies, what they are doing is drawing us out of our body, disconnecting us from our senses, from our body, and connecting us instead to cyberspace. If you don't feel at home in your body, you will never feel at home in the world. My impression is that the number one cause for the feeling of alienation and stress, which has huge economic advantages, but the mental price is very, very big. Most of the insights you gain by looking at how things changed in the past. But then once you understand the mechanism of change, you can use this understanding to try and say something about the future.
How do you evaluate your own visionary capability?
I hope they are good. I think history is really the study of change. Historians, their speciality is to study how things change in the world.
I mean, it's so funny or very paradoxical. You're trained as a historian, but people ask you like you are a prophet about future. So how do you think about it?
Now, of course, and I try to clarify it, but people don't always want to listen. I try to clarify it that I'm not a prophet. I'm not making predictions. Nobody knows what the world would be like in 30 or 50 years. It's impossible.
Now, many people read your books because they want to survive in the future.
Yes.
It's become a new social Darwinism. So how do you react to that? I mean, they are reading.
Well, this is one of the problems of writing books and being an author, that you have no control of the way in which people read your books.
Yeah.
And I see it in many cases, like I write a passage in an ironic tone. For me, it's obvious that this is irony. And I think everybody who reads it will understand. I don't mean it seriously. It's just an irony.
They didn't get it.
And they don't get it. I mean, they read it in a completely flat and serious way. And they understand exactly the opposite of what I intended.
So when you were on the stage, you talk about this. So you feel strong alienated from the reality?
So it sometimes happens with some people, and you just have to accept that. I mean, there is no way to write something that people will always understand. You think about, I don't know, say the Bible. So you have Jesus coming and telling his disciples, if somebody slaps you on the cheek, turn the other cheek. And you should have only love for all people. And somehow people read this and they burn heretics and they start religious wars. I mean, how, if it's possible to get from Jesus to religious wars, then people can just, do with texts almost anything they like.
Has to be the last question.
Okay.
I mean, again, I don't try to predict the future. I try to point out different possibilities, and I hope that, like Huxley, I'm offering an interesting visions.
Yeah. Okay. Do you mind people call you guru?
I don't like it, but I have no control over them.
Okay. Hope to see you in Israel. Maybe we are planning to go there to see you there, Israel. Yeah.
Thank you. It was very interesting. It's not the usual questions.
Yeah, we should talk more maybe next time. Okay. Take care.
You too.
比起所受的中世纪历史训练，赫拉利更像一个将前沿科技与宗教预言相结合的现代guru。想要理解他的学说与精神世界，最好来到他生长的地方。
爱你中国，我爱你中国。
哇，好动人呐！哇，好感动。来这里吃饭的以色列人多吗？犹太人？
阿拉伯人根本上就没有，但是犹太人
很多。
我有几十年的客人，几代人都在我这里吃饭。
当时79年来说，这里危险吗？这里问题多吗？
以色列一直都有问题。到今天为止，昨天为止都有问题。
这个阿拉伯世界的冲突，
几次以色列的战争我都在这里。1982年就是打黎巴嫩。对。那个时候打黎巴嫩的时候，很多人，美国来的，其他国家来的犹太人，他们在街上里被等，以后就有车子把他们送走，送到前线去。我问他们我自己愿意来的。
这边也有自杀性爆炸嘛？
很多，这个我亲眼看到的。
在哪里？什么样子？
这里39号。
39号。
这旁边那里。晚上也是爆炸了，他2个公交车啊。他等那个公交车到站的时候，这个公交车到站，那个恐怖事件引爆，2个公交车的人死伤很多人。他爆了以后，还有第2个人看到你们很多人在这里，第2个人进来爆了。
什么时候爆炸最严重啊？
一直都有。 我们都已经怕
现在是少一些了，是吧？
没有了，根本上没有。
现在没有了。
它
就因为建立一个墙，是不是？
是，
很有效，是吧？
有效。
但是巴勒斯坦人就很愤怒嘛，建立一个墙，
把人与人之间都分开了。以前有圣经记载的时候是犹太人的地方，后来犹太人2000多年的时候，他们这人就散掉了，逃到全世界的地方去了。以后阿拉伯人进来这里，生活了1000多年，他们也是当这里是他们的一辈子，他们的家。所以我觉得应该有和平的一点，大家都应该互相体谅一下。大家互相残杀都不是一个好的解决方法。
哇，这么高这个墙！
比那个柏林墙高多了。
对啊，高太多了，这得有什么8米、10米高。耶路撒冷是一座有着3000年历史的古城，也是犹太教、基督教、伊斯兰教的发源地。
有一个小平台，你望出去，居然可以看到2个宗教的地标性建筑物，一个呢是西墙，一个呢是金顶。
与耶路撒冷相距1小时车程的特拉维夫，却是一座引领世界科技的现代都市。我相约赫拉利在这儿再次见面，我很好奇，如此复杂的环境对他的影响是什么。Hi, see you again.
Hello.
Hi, see you again. See you again.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Nice to meet
Nice to
you.
meet you. So where to go? We need the car.
Yeah, we are ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Please. You know, I just traveled from Jerusalem, the old city. You see the different culture, different religion, and I mean very mixed culture, and a lot of burden from history. Is there a kind of Israeli mentality? Could you describe it?
As a tourist, maybe you go there. Oh, it's very interesting. Or you see all the old places. All this is where Jesus was, and so forth. But you live there. The amount of hatred in that place. It's like a nuclear reactor of hatred. You know, religion can be a wonderful thing, but when you live in Jerusalem, you realize that it can be a terrible thing.
Yeah.
How much hatred and anger. Ideally, a temple or a religious place is a place where you go in order to experience peace and harmony. If you go to a temple and you experience hatred and anger, then this is a dysfunctional temple. It's not working, you know. It's like going to a hospital and getting back even more sick. So Jerusalem for me is a dysfunctional temple.
How this kind of things shape your mind, shape your...
The influence on me, if this is what you ask, it obviously has an impact. I mean, if you live in a place like Silicon Valley, maybe you can have this kind of utopian vision of a world governed by science and by rationality and things like that. But if you live in the Middle East, it's obvious to you that you cannot escape this tension, because all around you, people are killing each other because of their belief in fictional stories. So it's very clear to you that fiction is an extremely powerful thing. My house, the village where I live, is exactly middle of the way between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. On the one hand, I'm very connected to this world of Tel Aviv.
Yeah, modern technology,
modern technology,
world,
high tech, all that. And on the other hand, very connected to Jerusalem with all the religion and mythology and especially this is why I think much of my writing and scholarship is about this tension between the modern world of the 21st century and artificial intelligence and all that, and on the other hand, the still great impact of all these mythologies and fictional stories and religions.
When did you notice the tension? When did you notice the hatred of religions and
I think only when I left Israel and I went to do my PhD in Oxford, then I realized how much tension there is in the place. Or when you're born into it, you think, well, this is how the world is. Only when you go out, you realize, no, this is not how the world is.
为了更充分理解这个国家与赫拉利，我约了几位当地人闲聊。我的朋友王石正在以色列游学，他与我一同前往。
007那个谍战片啊，这个行业，对。
第一位是阿拉伯律师。
Nice to meet you. How do you think about the Jewish people? I mean, the Jewish come back, take the city, they become a new authority. Is understanding or for you not?
For me, I don't have a problem with the religion about the Jews. And they was living here before the occupation, and we have places that they are neighbors of the Arabs, and they don't have any problem with the Palestinian here before the occupation. When they kick them out from Europe and receive them, and later they are get of this country. But after, it's became the problem. When I talk with the Israelis, most of the people, they have this stereotype. We really feel that. When they talking with me, are you real Arab? Yeah, I am Arab. Are you born here? Yes, I am born here. You know, here, the thing that it's helped me to live here in Jerusalem, it's how I look. According to the stereotype of the Israelis, I'm not look like the local people. The local people have to be dark skinned, not handsome person, and also my accent is good in Hebrew.
You speak Hebrew?
Yeah, of course, because I'm lawyer. And in a good accent.
So what's your nationality?
In nationality, I don't have any nationality of any country. It's just residency. If I pass something, if I travel more than 3 or 7 years out of Israel, so they can get the ID, my ID. It's mean they can kick me out anytime. Like that we live.
Do you have any solution? I mean,
actually, I don't see any solution. I am born here and I love this country. I will not pass to anywhere.
Forgot a car.
Oh,
it's okay.
It's okay?
It's okay.
When did you arrive?
Sorry?
When did you come to?
2 days ago.
Oh, 2 days ago. So you've been around.
Yeah, spent 1 day in Jerusalem and here. Yeah, come here. Yeah. You're much more relaxed than in China.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, because in China you run around from here to there. And here
Too
it's
many
like,
things. Yeah.
Oh, what nice view.
You want some water?
Yes,
Some water
would be nice.
Tell me more about, your self-searching in Oxford, your life, your thinking, your mentality, how the change happened. Yeah.
How the change happened?
Yeah.
Well, I went to Oxford to do my PhD on military history. I was always very interested in the big questions of life.
Yeah.
What are we doing here, and what is the meaning of life, and what is the source of suffering in the world, and things like that. But I got the impression that you couldn't really engage with these questions in the academic world. The academic world is kind of pushing you to focus on more and more narrow and specialized questions. On a parallel track, I'm personally very engaged and interested in these big philosophical questions.
Big tension for you.
Yeah. When I got my tenure at the university, I felt that, okay, now I'm kind of secure. Now they can't do anything to me. some terrible crime, like you murder the dean or something, they can't touch you.
Yeah.
So I try and reconnect the two tracks with these big questions about humanity and about life. I guess it was luck had something to do with it, but it was very successful.
In the 20th century, there are some historians also ask big questions like Arnold Toynbee, H.G. Wells. How this kind of tradition shaped you? I mean,
Influenced me.
Yeah.
The biggest influence on me, I think, was from Jared Diamond.
Jared Diamond.
He was a specialist in birds.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was the one who came and kind of showed the historians, look, you can do these things to, like, looking at humans from a bird's eye view.
From bird to bird view.
Yeah.
So you're comparing Jared Diamond. What's your advantage and disadvantage of your books?
Their strength compared with me is that I don't really have any background in biology. But if you just know biology, if you just understand evolution and you know everything there is to know about humans, you can now explain human history. I don't think that this can work because human history also has a very important ingredient of culture, of ideas, of stories, of fictions, and this is kind of my specialty, the exploration and understanding of fictions and mythologies and stories and their immense impact on human history. And if you don't give enough importance to the stories, to the fictions, you will never understand something like the Second World War, or like the French Revolution, or like the rise of Christianity. There was no biological or geographical explanation.
So what do you think the major flaw of your theory? Have you ever think about it?
Of my theory?
Yeah, your perspective. You try to explain the whole world, the history, but what's the major flaw in the process?
Well, if I knew the major flaw, I would have corrected it. But there are definitely flaws. I mean,
do you have any kind of worry? Maybe I speak so much about the change, the process, but actually I don't understand very well. Do you have any kind of concern?
There are many areas.
Because your tongue in the books is so confident. So,
yes.
Yeah.
There are many areas that I talk about and I have no first-hand experience. I just rely on what the experts in the field say and I believe them. And I have no ability to kind of verify for myself that what I'm saying is true. I just believe them. So it's only second-hand knowledge. I read articles and books about artificial intelligence and what are the principles behind the program, behind the machine learning. So I trust that they are right. I hope that they are not kind of, making this colossal mistake and leading the entire world after them.
赫拉利对多领域的探索，对二手知识的运用与宏大叙事的热情，让我想起另一位以色列朋友。他即将成为一位拉比，是位教授塔木德的老师。这部古老的典籍覆盖了犹太教的律法、习俗、祭祀、礼仪等。
You gonna join me?
Yes.
Okay. Come, welcome. Welcome, welcome everybody.
Maybe say something about yourself. You're from Dutch?
Well, I am from a Dutch-German family, but I was born here. Nowadays I'm studying to become a rabbi, conservative rabbi.
How could one be a rabbi?
You have to study and you have to pass exams.
You compare with the priest for the Christian, similar things or not similar? I mean, the role they played in the social society.
I think you are the spiritual leader of the people, and it's a very important job because you're working with people.
For us, for outsider, the Jewish education seems very interesting combination. On the one side, it's quite religious. You stick some everlasting truth. On the other side, the Jewish people seems very open to new technology, new knowledge. So how to explain the combination of this kind of paradox?
You know, if you read the Talmud, you can see in the Talmud that they already were very much open-minded. They had already broad knowledge. They didn't say, oh, we only have to confine ourselves to one knowledge, which is the Jewish. We have to understand everything because life is about everything. Talmud is a lot about discussions, open discussions. We bring different ideas and, oh, you heard a story that came from another country. How do we relate to that story? Is it relevant to us? I think that in the Jewish philosophy, and you have to listen to everything, understand other cultures, other people. 2,000 years ago, we were fighting amongst ourselves. And because we were fighting, you know, there were splits in the people, the temple was destroyed. So, you know, I think that the big issue of today is how do we build bridges? You know, how do we educate the next generation so we build bridges to people who are different than us?
And how the Jewish people deal with the trauma? I mean, teach the kids to know the trauma, to know their past.
We realized that the stories are very, very important. Everybody started talking about it and understanding that it is important to discuss it.
Do you think the Israel today still facing kind of existential crisis?
I want to believe that not. I think that, look, there are people in the world that say that they want us to disappear. But I don't think that, you know, practically it's possible. But human beings are not always predicted. What we learn from history is that human beings, that people, never learn from history. So history can often repeat itself because we just don't learn. So we don't look with open eyes of what happened only a few years ago and say, okay, let's do it differently. So I don't know. You know, I don't think that we are today on an immediate threat. But of course, Israelis feel that there is a threat. But I hope and I believe that we are strong enough and we'll be okay.
在以色列，宗教深入人们的生活，不同教派主张各异。
The fulfillment of my people's prayers for 2,000 years, 3 times a day. The Jewish
海雅是一位有着3个孩子的正统教犹太人。
Do you still feel lots of dangers everyday life, in everyday life?
You know, there was a time when there were a lot of car rammings going on in Jerusalem where terrorists would ram their cars into children. That was a scary time. You know, my kids would go to school in the morning and I would literally cry with fear. That's not been happening in the past couple of years, so it's a quieter time right now. So I don't feel fear. I let my kids roam around freely.
From your point of view, how to settle the huge conflict between Israel and Palestine is possible? I mean, during so long time.
Right. I think with the consciousness that we have today, it's not so possible. We need to be doing that work on ourselves personally and inside of ourselves. You know, I'm a therapist. I do couples workshops, you know, where it's about working on communication. So I think we need to be communicating more with our enemies and working through it via communication.
If the city is a patient,
Yeah.
how to describe the psychological problem or maybe mental disorder for the city?
You know, it's interesting we're having this interview today. Today is the National Day of Mourning. There's all sorts of things that we do today to enter into a consciousness of mourning for all of the pain of the world. 2,000 years ago, our people had senseless hatred. We hated for no good reason. We hated our brother, we hated our cousin, we hated. And for that, our national story goes, our temple was destroyed and the Jewish people were dispersed all over the world because we could not love each other. That's our psychological ailment is hate. And so the fixing of that is going to be love. It is love, senseless love. What does that mean and how do we do that is a whole other question, but I think just having that awareness, and we're trying to learn how to love senselessly.
Wow.
I know that seems like a little bit like theoretical, maybe. But I think it's true. I think that's where we have to start.
So in your book, you also mention about the global meaning crisis. Actually, people don't know who they are and they lost identity. So how to cope with it, from your point of view? How to